Welcome back to What If one of the most valuable treasures in America isn't buried underground, locked inside a vault, or displayed in a museum? What if it's sitting inside an old coffee can in your garage? What if it's hiding in a forgotten coin collection passed down through generations? Law coins, World Lincoln penny, $1968 coins, or even more shocking, what if you've already spent one without realizing it? That possibility keeps collectors awake at night, because every year, stories emerge of ordinary-looking coins selling for extraordinary amounts of money. Coins once mistaken for pocket change suddenly become the center of intense bidding wars, attracting collectors, investors, and treasure hunters from around the world. And today, we're exploring one of the most fascinating mysteries in modern numismatics: the elusive 1968 Lincoln cent. At first glance, it's just a penny, 1 cent, less than the value of a paperclip, less than the cost of almost anything you can buy in America today. But to a trained collector, a rare 1968 Lincoln cent can represent something entirely different: history, scarcity, opportunity, and under extraordinary circumstances, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in collector value. The difference between a spender and a collector is simple: a spender sees 1 cent, a collector sees a possibility. And that possibility is exactly why this coin continues to capture attention decades after it left the mint. Think about this for a moment. How many pennies have passed through your hands during your lifetime? Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. Now imagine that one of them possessed a tiny detail capable of transforming it from common currency into a legendary collector's item. That's why this story matters, because hidden wealth doesn't always look valuable. Sometimes it looks ordinary, sometimes it looks forgotten, and sometimes it looks exactly like the penny sitting in your coin jar right now. To understand the fascination surrounding the 1968 Lincoln cent, we need to travel back more than half a century. The year was 1968. America was experiencing a period of profound change. The nation was facing political upheaval, cultural transformation, and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, at the United States Mint, millions of Lincoln cents were being struck for circulation. Most would eventually become worn, damaged, or lost. Most would remain worth only face value, but a tiny number would become something far more interesting. Because whenever coins are produced on a massive scale, perfection becomes difficult to maintain. Machines wear down, dies deteriorate, production pressures increase, and occasionally, mistakes happen. For collectors, those mistakes are where the excitement begins. Attention reset. Before we go any further, here's a challenge. Think about where your oldest coins are stored: a drawer, a safe, a box in the attic, a jar in the kitchen. If you know where they are, you might want to take a look after this video. Because many valuable discoveries begin exactly that way. Not at auctions, not at coin shows, but at home. The 1968 Lincoln cent is especially interesting because it marked an important period in United States coin production. Mint marks returned to coins after several years of absence, creating renewed interest among collectors. Philadelphia cents typically carried no mint mark, while coins struck elsewhere displayed identifying letters. For specialists, these small details matter enormously, because sometimes the mint mark itself becomes part of the mystery. One category attracting significant collector attention involves repunched mint marks. This occurs when a mint mark is punched into a die more than once, creating visible overlap or separation. Under magnification, the letter may appear doubled or slightly shifted. To the average person, it might look insignificant. To a collector, it can be a highly desirable variety. Another sought-after feature involves doubled dies. Double die varieties occur during the die creation process rather than during the striking of individual coins. The result can be noticeable doubling on dates, inscriptions, and design elements. Strong examples are immediately recognizable to experienced collectors. The more dramatic the doubling, the greater the interest often becomes. Then there are die cracks. As minting dies endure enormous pressure over time, tiny fractures begin to form, These fractures transfer onto coins as raised lines. Some cracks remain small, others grow dramatically across the design. Collectors often view these cracks as fingerprints from a specific moment in production history. No two are exactly alike, and certain examples become famous among specialists. But the story doesn't end there. Another category involves die clashes. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a plan kit between them. The impact leaves impressions that later transfer onto coins. These ghost-like traces can create unusual design elements that fascinate collectors. Every clash tells a story. Every clash represents a mistake that escaped the mint, and every clash increases the uniqueness of the resulting coins. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple desirable characteristics: exceptional condition, a rare die variety, a significant minting anomaly, and decades of survival against overwhelming odds. Suddenly, a penny becomes much more than a penny. It becomes a prize. Attention reset. Quick question. Would you rather find a $20 bill on the sidewalk or discover a rare penny worth thousands? Most people choose the $20 bill. Collectors know better, because one extraordinary coin can outperform a lifetime of loose change. That perspective is what separates treasure hunters from everyone else. As years passed, another factor dramatically increased interest in the 1968 Lincoln cent. Survival rates. Millions were produced, but very few survived in pristine condition. Coins circulated heavily. They were carried in pockets, dropped on sidewalks, stored in jars, exposed to moisture, damaged through everyday use. Every year that passed reduced the population of high-grade survivors. Today, locating an untouched example can be remarkably difficult. Condition matters enormously. Two coins with identical dates may have dramatically different values. One might be worth only a few cents. The other could attract serious collector attention. Professional grading services evaluate factors such as strike quality, surface preservation, luster, color, and overall eye appeal. Tiny differences can produce substantial value differences. That's why collectors spend countless hours studying details invisible to most people. Now let's talk about why some enthusiasts describe certain rare 1968 Lincoln cents as ghosts of the market. The term reflects scarcity, not necessarily low mintage, but scarcity in terms of availability. The most desirable examples appear infrequently. Auction appearances are limited. Top condition specimens are difficult to locate. Documented varieties can remain hidden for years. This scarcity creates mystery. Mystery creates demand, and demand creates competition. Collectors love challenges. The harder a coin is to find, the more desirable it becomes. The fewer examples available, the greater the excitement whenever one surfaces. That excitement has only intensified in the digital age. Online auctions connect buyers across the globe. Information travels instantly. A newly discovered variety can attract attention from thousands of collectors within hours. What was once a local hobby has become an international marketplace, and rare coins have become more visible than ever. Attention reset. Let's have a little fun. Some people spend hours scrolling through social media looking for excitement. Meanwhile, coin collectors are staring at pennies through magnifying glasses, and somehow, the collectors are the ones finding hidden treasure. Funny how that works. Now we arrive at the question everyone wants answered. Could the 1968 Lincoln cent really be worth as much as $781,000? The answer lies in understanding the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Most 1968 pennies are common. Most remain worth modest amounts. But the coin market doesn't reward ordinary examples with extraordinary prices. It rewards rarity. It rewards uniqueness. It rewards exceptional condition. It rewards documented minting anomalies. And most importantly, it rewards collector demand. When all those factors align, remarkable things can happen. The highest auction results are typically associated with elite specimens, coins possessing rare combinations of characteristics that may never appear again, coins that advanced collectors compete aggressively to acquire, coins that become the centerpiece of major collections. In those circumstances, bidding can become intense. Multiple collectors pursue the same opportunity. Competition escalates, prices rise, records are broken, and suddenly, a small copper coin becomes the subject of national attention. That possibility is what keeps the market alive. It's what motivates collectors to search through rolls from banks. It's what drives enthusiasts to inspect inherited collections. It's what inspires treasure hunters to study every date, mint mark, and variety they encounter. Because nobody knows where the next great discovery will emerge. Maybe from a coin album forgotten in a closet, maybe from an estate sale, maybe from a family heirloom, or maybe from a dusty jar sitting on a shelf right now. The possibility remains real, and that's why these stories matter. They remind us that value often hides where nobody expects it. Most people assume wealth must look impressive. Collectors understand something different. Sometimes wealth looks ordinary. Sometimes it looks overlooked. Sometimes it looks exactly like a penny. As interest in rare coins continues growing and more investors enter the hobby, demand for exceptional specimens remains strong. Knowledge is becoming more accessible. Collectors are becoming more informed, and the search for hidden treasures continues across America every single day. So before you ignore that pile of old pennies, take a closer look. Check the date. Examine the mint mark. Study the details. Learn the varieties. Because every extraordinary discovery begins with curiosity. Every valuable coin was once overlooked. And every great collection started with a single coin. Perhaps the next remarkable discovery is waiting in a place you've already searched 100 times. Perhaps it's sitting quietly among ordinary coins, waiting for someone to recognize its significance. And perhaps that someone is you. The 1968 Lincoln cent remains a symbol of everything collectors love about the hobby. History, mystery, scarcity, opportunity, and the thrilling possibility that hidden wealth may be closer than anyone realizes. But don't put away your magnifying glass just yet, because the next coin we're covering is even more mysterious. Its rarity has fueled decades of speculation. Its rare varieties continue to spark debate among experts, and some collectors believe examples may still be hiding in circulation today. Make sure you're subscribed, because in our next episode we'll uncover another ultra-rare coin that could be worth a fortune and may be sitting unnoticed in someone's collection right now. What if one of the most valuable treasures in America is hiding in a place you've looked 1,000 times but never truly seen? What if a single penny, overlooked for decades, could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a high-end sports car collection, or even more than some people's lifetime savings? It sounds impossible. After all, it's just a penny, 1 cent, the smallest denomination in American currency, the coin most people ignore, toss into jars, leave in cup holders, or drop into donation buckets without a second thought. But that difference in perspective is exactly what separates spenders from collectors. A spender sees 1 cent, a collector sees possibility. And today, we're uncovering one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting history, the mysterious 1978 Lincoln cent, a coin that has generated enormous interest among collectors because of its unusual varieties, elusive rare characteristics, and the possibility that exceptional examples could command astonishing values under the right circumstances. Before we go any further, ask yourself a simple question. How many pennies have passed through your hands since childhood? Thousands, tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands? Now imagine that among those countless coins, one might have possessed a tiny detail capable of transforming it from ordinary pocket change into a collector's dream. That's the fear that keeps numismatists searching, the fear that a fortune may have already slipped through their fingers. And it's also the excitement that keeps treasure hunters examining coin after coin, year after year, because hidden wealth rarely announces itself. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a penny. To understand why the 1978 Lincoln cent attracts so much attention, we need to travel back nearly half a century. The year was 1978. America was experiencing economic challenges, inflation concerns, and significant cultural change. At the Denver Mint, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were rolling off production lines and entering circulation across the country. For most Americans, these coins represented nothing more than everyday money. Nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would be studying some of these pennies under magnification, searching for clues that might separate common examples from remarkable discoveries. But history has taught collectors a valuable lesson. Whenever coins are produced in massive quantities, mistakes can happen. And when those mistakes survive long enough to be discovered, they can become incredibly desirable. Attention reset. Before we continue, take a mental inventory. Do you have an old coin jar somewhere in your house? A coffee can filled with pennies? A collection inherited from a parent or grandparent? If you do, remember where it is. Because some of the most valuable coin discoveries in history were made long after the coins originally entered circulation. Now let's explore what makes certain 1978 D Lincoln cents so interesting. The small D mint mark indicates the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. To most people, that tiny letter seems insignificant. To collectors, it's one of the first things they examine. Because mint marks often help identify specific varieties, production anomalies, and potential rarities. One of the most discussed characteristics involves double die varieties. A double die occurs during the die creation process, resulting in design elements that appear duplicated. Under magnification, collectors may notice extra thickness on lettering, slight separation in inscriptions, or unusual characteristics around the date. These details can transform an ordinary coin into a highly sought-after variety. Another category attracting collector attention involves repunched mint marks. During earlier minting practices, mint marks were added separately to dies. Occasionally, a mint mark would be punched more than once, creating visible overlap or shifting. These subtle features can become important identifiers for specialists seeking rare varieties. Then there are die cracks. Every die used in coin production experiences tremendous stress. Over time, microscopic fractures develop. As these cracks expand, they leave raised lines on coins struck from those dies. Some die cracks are minor, others become dramatic enough to attract significant collector interest. Each crack tells a story. Each crack captures a specific moment in the life of a minting die. And for collectors, those stories matter. But perhaps the most fascinating category involves strike anomalies. Coins must be positioned precisely during the minting process. When something goes wrong, unusual results can occur. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, misaligned dies, weak strikes, partial strikes. Each represents an unexpected departure from normal production. And collectors love the unusual. Why? Because rarity creates demand. The more unusual the error, the fewer examples exist. And the fewer examples that exist, the stronger collector competition tends to become. Attention reset. Here's a question that might make you smile. When was the last time you carefully inspected a penny before spending it? Most people never do. In fact, many people don't even bend down to pick up a penny from the sidewalk. Yet collectors know that some of history's greatest discoveries began with a coin that everyone else ignored. Funny how wealth sometimes hides in plain sight. As the decades passed, another factor began increasing interest in the 1978 D Lincoln cent. Survival. Millions were minted, but surviving examples in exceptional condition became increasingly scarce. Coins circulated heavily. They were scratched, dropped, exposed to moisture, and damaged through everyday use. Every year reduced the number of pristine examples available to collectors. This is one of the most important concepts in numismatics. Mintage does not always equal rarity. Condition creates rarity too. A coin produced by the millions can still become difficult to find in exceptional condition decades later. That's where professional grading becomes critical. Experts evaluate strike quality, luster, preservation, surface marks, color, and overall eye appeal. A difference that appears tiny to an untrained observer may represent a substantial difference in value. The highest grade examples occupy a special place in the market. Collectors compete aggressively for them because they represent the finest survivors from a particular year. Now let's discuss why some enthusiasts refer to certain 1978 D Lincoln cents as ghosts of the market. The phrase doesn't mean the coins are mythical. It means the most desirable examples appear infrequently enough to create mystery. Top condition specimens can remain hidden for years. Rarer combinations may surface only occasionally. Documented examples are often tightly held within advanced collections. This scarcity fuels fascination. Collectors become intrigued by what they cannot easily find. The harder the search becomes, the stronger the demand often grows. And demand is one of the most powerful forces in the coin market. Today, The internet has amplified that effect dramatically. Collectors from across the world can share discoveries instantly. Rare varieties gain attention faster than ever before. Auction records spread through online communities within hours. A single discovery can reignite interest in a coin that many people had previously overlooked. Attention reset. Let's be honest, most people spend more time researching a television purchase than they do examining old coins. Yet one decision might save a few dollars, the other could uncover a remarkable collectible. That's why experienced collectors never stop learning. Knowledge creates opportunity, and opportunity often creates value. Now we arrive at the question everyone wants answered. Can a 1978 Lincoln cent really be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The answer depends entirely on the coin. Most examples are common. Most are worth only modest amounts. But extraordinary coins operate in a different universe. The highest values in numismatics are generally associated with unique combinations of factors: exceptional preservation, significant minting errors, documented rarity, strong collector demand, and intense competition among buyers. When those elements come together, auction results can become astonishing. The possibility of a value approaching $781,000 would require an extraordinary specimen possessing characteristics far beyond the ordinary. We're talking about the elite examples, the coins collectors dream about finding, the coins that become centerpieces of major collections, the coins that inspire bidding wars among determined buyers. And bidding wars are where records happen. When multiple collectors pursue the same rare opportunity, prices can climb rapidly. What begins as a simple auction can transform into a battle for ownership. That's why the rare coin market continues attracting attention from both collectors and investors, because scarcity is powerful, and genuine rarity becomes increasingly difficult to replace. The excitement surrounding the 1978 Lincoln cent reflects something larger than one coin. It reflects the enduring appeal of discovery, the idea that extraordinary value may still be hidden among ordinary objects, the possibility that a forgotten collection could contain something remarkable, the hope that knowledge and patience might uncover opportunities others missed. That's why collectors continue searching through rolls from banks. That's why estate sales remain popular. That's why inherited collections are examined so carefully. Nobody knows where the next great discovery will emerge. Perhaps from a dusty attic, perhaps from a forgotten safe deposit box, perhaps from a coin album untouched for decades, or perhaps from a jar of pennies sitting quietly in someone's kitchen right now. That uncertainty keeps the hunt alive, and that's exactly what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every coin carries history, every coin tells a story, and every coin presents a possibility. As interest in rare coins continues growing and more people become aware of hidden treasures in circulation, demand for exceptional examples remains strong. Collectors are becoming more educated, markets are becoming more connected, and the search for overlooked rarities continues across America every single day. So before you dismiss that old penny as worthless, take a closer look, check the date, examine the mint mark, study the details, learn the varieties, because every remarkable discovery starts with curiosity. Every valuable coin was once considered ordinary, and every legendary collection began with a single coin. The 1978 Lincoln cent remains a reminder that extraordinary opportunities often arrive disguised as everyday objects. A simple penny, a small piece of copper, a forgotten artifact from another era, and perhaps, under the right circumstances, a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. But the story doesn't end here, because the next coin we're uncovering may be even more mysterious. Its rarity has puzzled collectors for decades. Its rare varieties continue to spark debate among experts, and some believe examples are still hiding in plain sight throughout America. Make sure you're subscribed, because in our next episode we'll reveal another ultra-rare coin that could turn an ordinary collection into something truly extraordinary.